I guess I could text you here in a minute. Pardon me. All right, good evening, everyone. I call this meeting to order for our July monthly board meeting. Everyone stand, please, with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you, everyone. All right, this evening, we have a young lady that went to the youth tour on behalf of REMC. And we've invited her in to kind of share what happened on the youth tour. You might tell us a little bit about yourself to start off with, and then we may have some questions along the way. So thanks for coming.
Hi, my name is Dana Thomas, and I'm from Decatur, between Rushville and Greensburg, and so kind of on the Decatur County line. And I had an amazing time. I was in DC. I made a lot of friends. It was really fun. We went to see Gettysburg Address. We also saw like the 9/11 crash. We went and saw other things like the Capitol building. We also spoke to Senator Young, which was really interesting. And my favorite part was probably the Sunset Parade. It was really cool. Anyways, but it was really fun, and we had a great time. So I made some good friends too. So.
How much time did Senator Young spend with you guys?
I think it was like maybe 10 to 15 minutes, maybe. I mean, he spent quite a bit of time because we had a couple questions, but he was like trying to get out of there, and then we asked him questions, and it was this whole thing. And then like his assistant was like coming in the room, like, we need to go next meeting. Anyway, but it was a long 10 minutes. It's pretty interesting. So, yeah.
What kind of process do you guys go through to elect a youth from Indiana to participate in the national convention? Did you guys do that?
I know how to apply for it, like at the beginning of the year, I think it was. I mean,
You need to go.
Yes, go. Yeah.
But I'm saying once you're there, don't they have a delegate from Indiana that goes to the NRECA meeting?
Oh yes, they did.
How does that process work?
So I'm pretty sure you had to apply in the email to like actually apply, like try out or whatever. And so I did not do that, but
Did you eventually
when you
vote though?
Yes, you do get to vote. Like when you're there, like I think it was the first night, like everyone gave people that applied gave a speech. Like I think there were like 4 or 5 people, and then they judged them on that speech. And then like 2 people were eliminated, and then 3 of them went on the final round. And then they had an interview. Then the final person was picked. So that's kind of how it went next night. So I don't remember what the girl's name who was picked, but it was nice.
I think I saw a news clip about that of sorts, but yes.
They had like 2 nights of like speech first, then interview, and they were judged and stuff like that.
So how did you hear about the youth tour?
I heard about it from my sister, and she heard about it from, I think it was a friend or something, but pretty, just people.
Were you aware that the REMC sponsored students like yourself then?
Yes.
Okay, good.
They talked about that for like 3 hours. So.
Longer than Todd Young's.
I mean, I saw the application, but they also talked about it. Oh, wow. We got there at 11 and we didn't leave till like 3, so.
How long were you actually in Washington then?
It was about like, it was 3-4 days maybe. I mean, it was pretty long. Most of the time, like the first couple days, we were like just exploring other stuff as we drove down on the bus. And then we were in Washington for like 3 or 4 days, and then we left. So that's basically what happened.
So you said the Sunset Parade was?
Yes, that's what it was called.
What is that?
Okay, so basically what happened, there was a bunch of like Marines, and they were like playing instruments and stuff, like the drums, the flutes and stuff, and they were like doing this whole, it's like a band or marching band or something. They were doing some kind of march that was really interesting. Never really been to anything like that. And then they had like the actual they came out with the guns and they were doing like these little twists with the guns and then actually fired it. So it was really cool. I've never been to something like that. I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, it was really cool. And then my friend Kenzie, she really likes that kind of thing because her brother's in the Marines. So she was like taking videos of it and sent it to her brother. Anyway, it's really cool.
Did you know the other student that the IMC sponsored as well?
Yes, Catherine. Yeah, I met her. We were on, there were 2 buses and we were not on the same bus. So
Okay.
I didn't get to know her as much, but
But you didn't know her before you went on the trip?
no, I did not.
And you would encourage students to do this, correct?
It was
Good. Anybody else have any questions? Dana, well, we certainly appreciate you coming out and sharing with us.
Glad you had a good time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
me so.
Thanks for your questions. You don't have to stick around.
Yeah. You probably don't want to stick around.
I mean, I didn't understand how much stuff.
You're welcome to. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Well, have fun.
All right, so next item is to actually approve the agenda that we have scheduled.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Carl. We have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. It's unanimous. Suzanne. All right, Brett, you're up with a safety minute and cool moment.
All right, so for safety moment, just a quick story. So my youngest son was using the power washer, which is electric, and he said it didn't work anymore. So I go over there and I check it out, and it was basically a very frayed extension cord that is laying in water, and it was tripping the GFI on the side of the house. So I'm just glad that I was the one that got to see it because it was really great. I'm surprised he didn't electrocute himself even plugging it in. So interesting enough, I thought that was funny that when I get on Facebook and look for a safety moment, it was something that we've been actually promoting. It's kind of our, every month we have a new safety theme, and it was around inspecting extension cords. So I thought that was kind of coincidental and thought that I would make that our safety moment. The other thing, which I'm not going to spend the time, but I will send this out to you all. There's a link on this slide, and it is, Jason got to see it. It is the tornado that basically went right through our Worthington gas plant that Hoosier owns. Literally, the camera caught, it's the camera that's on the substation there, but it caught this tornado, literally coming right through. So it's a very interesting video. I'll send it out to you. It's about 9 minutes long. Otherwise, I'd show you right now.
And you said there's a link?
Yeah, there's a link on this slide that I have here at the very top. I'll send this to you. Just click on that link on the slide and it'll show you. It's very interesting, but it is like 9 minutes.
All right.
And it's pretty cool. All right, for a cool moment, I'm going to take a minute to brag on my team here. We're midway through the year, and what better way of thinking through what we've accomplished and kind of where we're at in the year. So I thought from a cool moment stand, again, these are things that accomplishments of my team here. So number one, success getting fiber built. So you guys are going to hear where we're at on the fiber. We're building things. Money's going out the door. So we've been talking about fiber for 4 years now, 3 years, something like that. And so we're actually, stuff's in the air. Second one is we've overcome, Crystal really has overcome some very large hurdles. We started out with a project manager that just, I think, the person was new in the job. And so there's just been a lot of hurdles in the meter replacement, as you guys know, with the budget and all that. And so now we are progressing. We've got I don't think it's RDUs. Actually, I think we have that DCUs. But we actually have a bunch of them up and ready to go for testing. So that project is moving along very, very well. Pole replacements, I'm sure you guys heard me talk about this already, but we are, we hit the ground running this year. We were never done as early as we were, and we're all caught up. So I'm sure you can see it in the financials, but there's always a good thing, I guess, when you're spending money on stuff like that. So again, being way ahead of pole replacement. So we've actually switched those resources over to working on our meter poles. So honestly, I didn't know if this was going to be a success or not, but Johnny and Jeannie kind of got together. Johnny came up with an idea of, hey, we have an individual who's no longer here. Let's backfill this individual with two different looking positions, and let's do it in a, with a temp agency. We were successful in getting two candidates that we think are one's been here now for a couple of weeks and is working out wonderfully. The next one starts, I think, in another week or so. So again, this out of the box thinking and trying something, so far as it really looks like we can see the difference, right? And it's helping in the workloads and all that. As you guys know, we were able to get Comcast to sit down at the table and get a contract signed. It has some teeth in it. I feel like every time we touch a contract, we've done a really good job of making sure that we work with the legal attorney and that we get teeth in these contracts and that we can hold our contractors, vendors, pole attachers, their feet to the fire. And so we've also been paid on those illegal contacts. So again, that's a great success. We had a fair booth and obviously our annual meeting. I would consider both of those a success coming out of Crystal's team. Very well planned. Honestly, I felt like this annual meeting last 2 or 3 actually have been flawless. I mean, as far as just the planning and the upfront work. And then the last one, Matt's, worked with Johnny on getting our construction work plan. As you guys know, we've been kind of delayed on just the government agencies being able to review the construction work plan. Not really delayed. We knew it was going to be next year, but, and then securing the RUS funding in order to get it approved for 2026. So those, again, I thought it was a good, cool moment to just go over some of the success of, we don't spend a lot, we spend a lot of time on what do we need to improve? What do we need to improve? And we don't always talk about the wins. So we take time and do that. So that's it.
Thank you. Let's go into the next item for your information. Anybody have any questions for your information?
I do, just out of curiosity, on the check register pay 8, Annixter material for $61,000.
Pretty sure that's either a transformer or a lot of wire. I'd have to.
Okay.
I can tell you exactly what it is.
I'm sure it's been on there. I just am not familiar with that company. I hadn't heard.
They're the wire / transformers.
Okay.
You've got that.
I can look it up real quick and see exactly what it is.
What was it? 61,000. Is that what you said, Susan?
61,078. I just hadn't seen that name on.
We'll look it up. You're looking at it now.
Oh, yeah, no, go ahead. He'll get it sometime.
Okay. Do we have anything else for your information? All right, so we'll go into the next item of approving last month's minutes.
It's 15,000 feet of wire.
So I need a motion to approve. Okay.
Second.
We have a second. Brian. All in favor, say aye. Say. All right, next item,
All right. We'll get up. All right, so first thing I'm gonna do is go over fiber update, project update. We do have the expert here, so if you guys have questions, feel free to just stop me. I'll probably defer to him because he's on top of this stuff as far as day to day. So I'm gonna give an update first, and then second, Chairman, I'd like to go into executive session. We can talk about BEAD application. I don't really want that public as far as how we're gonna apply, just editors will be applying, so. All right, as far as fiber construction, so obviously you guys know phase one is passing 1,419 members. It consists of about 225 miles. We are about by the end of the week, we'll be 65 miles in. So within 6 weeks, we've built 65 miles of main line. And we believe we are on track to a November completion. Second thing is so they basically spool out this wire, they hang it all up, and then they come back and splice, hang what they call the MSTs. And so we've been in process of that as of last week. So that's kind of the next piece to get everything together. We expect friendly signups were expected. So there's 3 or 4, and also we may add some other ones into that that you consider friendly, signing them up right away to make sure the light and everything is working correctly. Obviously they'll test the light, but getting them up and going. The schedule for that was on the 21st of July. We've pushed that back until August the 4th, and it was due to what he was talking about earlier. So when we have to hook up to SCI's main lines, plug into their DIA is what they call it, we had to cross over 129, and we were afraid that the height going over 129 with the amount of wires we had to put on it to get to that was low. So we ended up going ahead and replacing those 2 poles and getting it raised up. I think it was a smart move to do. It took us a little bit of time, but that's why it's going to be August the 4th. It doesn't shove us back any as far as any of the other timelines that we have. We are also working on, so when we estimate above and below ground, it's truly just an estimate based upon kind of our electric side of things. And so because it was high, we had ordered material, because if you remember, we had to order all this material up front in order to get it on time. So we were heavy on some of the components like the handholds and conduit and things like that for underground. And so they have been pretty successful at getting this stuff returned, the stuff that we don't need, but we still got some to go. It's not anything like $1 million problem or anything like that, but we are trying to get that returned as quickly as possible so it doesn't just sit there. So I feel like we've made some progress in that. We did meet last week with SEI to start what we call Tier 1 troubleshooting training. So this is going to be the training for Tier 1 that our MSRs are going to have to go through. So I think Crystal, you did everyone with her. So I heard from Sam today that it seemed like it was going to be a little bit easier than what we originally thought as far as Tier 1. And so that is starting so that when we get a call from a member that we can troubleshoot. And the second thing, I don't remember if I made you guys all aware of this or not, but I wanted to make sure everyone knows. We originally looked back at who was going to do our after hours trouble or, calls for fiber. And so we had looked at some of the different companies. We had talked to CRC. CRC is as of right now is not supporting fiber. So it was going to get to the point where we were going to have to do some type of phone tree where, hey, if you're calling for fiber, call 1, And we wanted to avoid that if possible. And so we actually went around and checked some different vendors, and we landed on 9-Star. And so we will be transitioning our electric and our fiber after hours over to 9-Star. They've got a pretty good sized division there now. Heard nothing but good things. And so we felt like that was going to be the right move. So I don't know exactly when that transition is going to be happening, but that is a transition that we plan on doing with the fiber ops. That is the fiber update. Any questions as far as how the build is going?
No questions on that, but I think you sent out a correspondence regarding an Okra grant we received.
Yeah, you want to talk about that, Sam?
Yeah, so we did receive, so it's ICP, Indiana Connections Program. So basically people will call into the broadband office, say, hey, I'm really close to fiber, but they're not bringing it to me. So they put their names on a list and they send that list out to providers and say, you can bid on this. I believe we won 5 addresses near the areas that we're building at. So it's kind of into the cost of what we're already doing. So it's grant dollars to get to those addresses for a little over $23,000.
So it's additional service members will pick up and basically not have to absorb any cost.
Yeah, I mean, we have costs to get there, but it's already, we kind of had that figured into the cost of building out the NLC4.
That's kudos to Sam for looking for these. He said something to me about it that he saw, and he's like, I don't know why we wouldn't put in for it. He wrote it himself. So we didn't spend a bunch of money on grant writing, and we got it. So,
Well, and ironically, that amounts close to the one that we would just,
yeah.
it's in the same neighborhood anyway.
I agree.
Kudos, Sam. Nice job.
Any other questions on the bill? If not, can we go into?
Yep. We're going into the executive session.
Sam.
All right, we're back into open session.
Thanks, sir.
Thanks, sir.
You're going to continue with,
Yep, just the RF meter replacement. So project's on track. We have 20 of the 62 ECUs installed in the field. So Claire is actually going to be on site next week doing quality assessments on the installation. They have to do some initial testing to make sure that how we've got them installed is proper. And so, so that is moving along. The NISC integration is taking place now. So that's where all the meters have to be into our inventory and kind of registered in through the NISC program so that we will, when we install them, we will be able to do meter reads on them. So all that's happening. The new meters will be uploaded to inventory. I just talked about that. And right now we're still expecting deployment in August, which will last 6 to 8 weeks deployment. So we're still looking towards the end of it. We do have some things still going on to try to recoup some of those dollars. We're still waiting on Claire to get back, or Brownstown to get back with us on some of the questions that we have for them and some of the asks that we need. As far as the budget update, this is basically the same as what you saw last month. There hadn't been a lot of change in this area from a budget standpoint. We ready to go to metrics? All right, so we're talking June. So obviously the temperature was warm, so we were about 3.7% above the median, or sorry, 3.7% above the 5-year average. CCD was just shy, or basically flat with our 5-year average. Our purchased energy ended up being about 3% above our 5-year average. So we were at 31 million. And then our demand was about 2.8% above our 5-year average. So obviously, same story you guys have heard here now a couple of times is temperatures were higher. It drove our energy up, drove our demand up. You'll see what happened to our margins and to energy to sales to budget here shortly. This is broken down by our different classes. As you can see, temperature usually affects residential the most. So we were 9% this month above what was in our budget. Commercial is down 2.4%. Industrial is down about 2%. And then transmission up about 7%. So on the left is where we were at last month. On the right is where we're at this month. So we basically went from about 1.5 above budget to about almost 2% above budget. So obviously the heat helped drive sales.
we'll probably do so in July.
Again, this month, I would suggest that is true. Sadie, I think you guys already saw this, but it's been a pretty tough year with storms. So we have 2 above our TMED. You can kind of see the one which I believe I showed you last month. That was our last storm that happened, basically over 2 days. Lost consumer hours is reflected in that major storm. So you can see we were shot the 5-year average out of the water on number of outages, and the same thing with lost consumer hours. And then I just wanted to show you this. This just shows the drivers of why those numbers are so high, and it's mainly because of the red line there, which is major storm. Any question on any of the metrics? from June.
Pretty good.
Now to the fun part. Ready, Matt? All right, there's your balance sheet.
All right, so realistically, for the first time since I've been here, I can say we have something fairly abnormal compared to what historically it's been. So if you look on here, the difference between months, there's significant changes and there's real things to talk about. In general, I can start with net utility plant. We had a large amount of plant placed in service in June. There was a ton of, if you'll notice on later on, you'll see that there was a lot of work orders that closed, plus you have all the meters as well as, so there was a bunch of stuff that came in the last month, all the meter invoices and a lot of pull invoices. So we have a lot of plant that is in WIP currently, but will be started depreciated once it's done. Next, you have current and accrued assets. That increased significantly as well. Our cash went up a whole bunch because we borrowed, as I said at the last meeting, we borrowed a whole bunch of money on the line of credit right after the meeting, pretty much that week. And then the other deferred debits, that's also, there's a large amount of cost going into that from the fiber as well as the RF meter project. So that would have increased. And then our current liabilities, we have a lot of invoices sitting out there, and we borrowed $4.5 million on the line of credit. So there is balance sheet activity, and there's money's going out the door for all these major projects that are in process. So, and it's showing up in the balance sheet and as AP and everything else. I would imagine that we will continue to see this for the rest of the year. Any questions on the balance sheet?
All right.
Next, we have the income statement. There's not a lot to talk about on this one comparatively. In general, it's the same notes as the last month. I mean, the reason our gross margin is much higher is because we have our legal pole contact income, and then we have contact application fees hitting there. In general, everything is tracking pretty well where it would normally be. Controllable expenses from a department across the board, it's lower. Some of that is due to stuff. Some things are lower, some things are higher. They're ahead on right away. We also, one of the reasons some things on the balance sheet, any time that is spent on the RF meter project as well as the fiber project is getting put in those accounts. So it's not necessarily, it's not coming through as an expense. Everything else on this is pretty much the same as it was in the last month. I'd say things are going fine. I mean, we're over on our KWH sales and we're over budget there. So not a ton, but when you have a hot month, it does tend to be over a hair. Any questions on the income statement? And then realistically, the only thing really on the cash flow statement that you can see that we borrowed the money and it increased, the cash increased, and granted the money went right out the door. You get a snapshot in time when you get a balance sheet and the cash flow statement. You got the snapshot as of the end of
When we borrowed it.
right as we borrowed it, right before it went out. Yes. So you can see in there that we borrowed $4.5 million and we used it to pay things as they came in.
I do have, go ahead, Jason.
Capital credits will go out,
August next month. So
and that's gonna be around $1 million, right?
I'd say so, yeah. Million-ish, yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Which is shy, I think, if I remember right.
900 and some, yeah.
Matt, what's your cash balance today? Rough idea. I don't need an exact. I'm just curious. I mean, of the money you borrowed and the invoice that came in, have those subsequently been paid since the end of June to now, or They still sit there in AP and cash.
Usually the last day I didn't log into the bank. When I was in there yesterday, there was about $1.2 million. So. I mean, it comes in, it goes out. There's always the float we have when you're,
Understand.
when you do 40 million a year
Yeah.
in sales, you're floating a fair amount I mean, this is the week where money comes in. So the deposits this week is very heavy. And as we did all our polls that we pull from people's account, that was Monday. So we had a large amount of money come in Monday. And then we had all the deposits over the weekend that people were paying right before the due date. And then I would say we sent a whole bunch of money out on Tuesday. We pay on Tuesdays, and as stuff clears the bank, it'll be this week, and we'll pay Hoosier again too as we.
I don't sense any alarm in your demeanor at all.
Oh, I mean, we knew we were going to borrow money. I mean, that was that when you're doing projects that are of this size, and that's just how that was planned for.
I look at it as a deposit. That means we're getting done what we said we were going to get done.
So you still have a fair amount left on the meters. Is that correct?
Most of the meters are paid for. There's not a whole lot left there outside of the internal. I mean, the biggest thing I've seen in the meters the last few weeks is the amount of time the guys are coding to it for putting up those.
So the meter project's mostly paid for.
Well, we've got the meters. We've got the meters in. They're all sitting out back in the trailer. So we had to pay for them when we got them.
I think we're waiting on like 62 of the special one.
Most of that stuff has been paid. Or actually, most of that stuff is sitting in AP. I don't think 100% of it's paid yet, but it's sitting in AP and will be paid here shortly.
Yeah, because I'm assuming this is the June total for meters was 193 out of 1.5. So it just haven't paid yet.
Yeah, haven't gone through it. Yeah, that'll show up on that.
I think it's been paid as of now, but
It's being as far as June, the end of June.
yeah, well, once we get the invoice, we code it to, if we get the invoice on the 10th of July and the ship date was June 30th, we're going to code it in June. So there's always with accrual accounting, you're always you're trying to get it in the right period. Now I don't get as wild when we close July as we do December. Because if there are some stragglers, we always keep December open a few extra days just because we know there's always a straggler invoice here or there that we're waiting on people to send us. Whereas during the year, it's not, it doesn't really matter if it's in June or July. End of the day, it's the same at the end of the year. But so in general, they're yeah.
And your polls got done fast, so you didn't.
Yeah, we've spent a lot of money on those. Yeah, that has already happened. So as you said, you can see there the polls. That has all showed up pretty well now. The meters and transformers, we have not put that into this year. The meters or the RF meter project are not showing up there. Those are being tracked separately. They're not hitting this yet. They're all going to what our decision was to put since that's such an enormous project, we have created a separate account on the general ledger where that is being tracked. And then as they are put into service, we're going to capitalize it. And then it will hit from there. So it's not showing up on this right now.
Even though we have them and have paid for them.
Yes. Until they're installed in certain WIP. Or in this case, they're not in WIP. We put a separate account because we wanted to track it separately since it was such a significant project.
And do we still feel confident in the resale of the old meters? Has there been any discussion about that?
The transformers?
No,
The meters.
meters. That was a significant amount of money. I think that we were planning on the sale of those meters. Is that still a problem?
We need to follow up on that. No one's talking about it, Jason, since.
I think it was mentioned as something that we need to make sure we I mean, I know it was brought up, but there wasn't any discussion on how much that was going to raise or.
Because I mean, we were.
Yeah.
it was
That's kind of like the
significant.
decision-making.
Yes.
Part of the decision-making is on.
Definitely.
I know the Transformers was a big market.
Transformers, I think, was more than the meters actually.
Oh, yeah, it was. I want to say it was over $500,000.
It
Yeah.
was,
Yeah.
for both.
And realistically, until they get the new meters installed, then it'll be
Right.
to sell that.
Well, just so it's not a bad surprise.
I'll take a action item. We'll ask to confirm, verify that. Yeah, compared to what we had planned.
Yeah.
Hell, maybe the transformers are going up
Yeah, maybe be more.
200,000. There are a couple of things while we're talking about finances that I did want to bring up just so I don't forget at some point. I don't know if any of you walked in on the right side door. If you did, you probably had a really tough time getting in. So that door has had some, we think, shoddy work way back in the day, and it's getting water in it, and it's just getting worse and worse. And the door's almost shot. So we are getting it looked at. That is a door that is not ADA compliant. So if you replace it or do any work on it, we're gonna have to make it ADA compliant, which makes it a very expensive door. That's one. Two, in the hallway. So it's the hallway that you go from this building to the back building. There is a door there that has leaked for a long time. It's leaking so bad. We put a rug over it years ago, and now it's really leaking bad to the point where we had a slip. And so we had a near miss. Every time it rains now, it used to be if it had to rain a certain way. Now it's like every time it rains, it leaks bad. And it's an old door. So we are getting somebody to look at it. I don't know whether we'll be able to just patch it or have to buy a new door. I don't know yet. We're getting that looked at. And then the windows. So there's a couple, four big windows that are getting worse and worse. And they're to the point where they're leaking now and it's damaging other stuff. So we're getting quotes on that too. In the back building, the heaters, we've already pulled the trigger on. The heaters that are above, we held off on this forever because we didn't know about the building thing. The heaters are above are going bad. They're dangerous. So we're buying forced air heaters to replace those.
Just the ones that don't work.
Yeah, just the ones that don't work, but those are cheap. But we already made a trigger on that just because we feel like it's under the budget. And then the last one is the door that is, and again, we waited on this one just because we didn't know what we were going to do with the building, but the door, when you go, the guys use to get into the building, there's nothing left of
You
it.
could probably kick it.
I mean, I don't even know that you would have to kick it. That is a secure area, and there, we have, I shouldn't say this out loud, but there's stuff back there we don't want people in there. And so there's no way of doing anything besides replacing that door. There's nothing left of the old door. So we're getting quotes on that. So the only thing we've pulled the trigger on so far is the heaters. This other stuff, we're going to get some quotes to figure out what that looks like. And I don't know.
When the heaters can be, I mean, we're getting the kind that we can, that they're not.
We can move them if you had.
Yeah, they're replacing two of them that are burned out.
So anyway, I don't know, Steve, how you want me to deal with these things as far
I
as
mean,
the
a lot of them are
budget.
probably gonna fall under the repairs and maintenance. I mean, that's,
Yeah, with that amount, we're going to blow the budget away. Yeah.
When will you get the numbers to you?
I think I should have, I hope to get, they were here again today taking measurements on the windows. That one's probably the only one that really is not. Unless we have to do something with the front door, that, like you said, that can be really bad. But outside of that, that and the windows are the only ones that'll be super bad. I mean, like the one out back with the slip, I'm hoping I can put an awning up and that'll solve some of it and replace the stuff at the bottom and make it so that it doesn't leak as bad or leak real bad.
We haven't had any major maintenance issue. I mean, the last, I think, major thing we had was the pump and we haven't had a lot of stuff go bad. So, I mean, it doesn't surprise me.
Well, why don't you share with the board
Yeah.
once you come up with the numbers, and then
And maybe he's right. Maybe we'll end up being within the budget and it's not a big deal, but I don't know. Just let us know. I'd be surprised those windows and doors are not cheap.
The windows scare me. I'm worried about what it costs. front door, that could be, when Norm and I replaced the tile up front, I found there was a large gap underneath where it was filled in with stuff, and there was metal and stuff in there, and I think the metal had rusted and started to expand. Let's just say that wasn't exact. It was a great repair that lasted 20 years. And now it's cut up. Norm and I's repair, we were hoping would last 10 years.
All right.
We got a year.
All right, Matt, you got anything else for us, then?
Any other questions on plant or?
Should be good. All right, thanks. We'll go to the next item. And we talked about this last month, and I know, Jason, you got to hear it. I thought that put a couple things together. The building next steps. I think what we'll do is, at this time, we'll break into a couple different groups. And what we're looking for is, what does each group come up with as far as the questions 1 and 2 that are given to us? Okay. And then there's some bullet points, I guess, just to kind of maybe look at a little bit closer and see if maybe they're incorporated into our responses for 1 and 2. So, Suzanne, you and Steve Nobby and Jason, I thought could be a group, and the other 4 of us will be a group. And what we'll do, I don't know how much time we're truly going to need on this. We've already looked at it a little bit closer. We already have some ideas individually. I figured we'd spend 10 to 15 minutes. If we need a little bit more, we'll do that. Then we'll reconvene and we'll go over what your group came up with, and then what the other group came up with. We'll talk through it just to try to get a process going. So maybe, I don't know how loud we can be. I figured I could make sure we got so we can go to another room. I think you're all right. I don't know if we need to. Okay. We're back in open session, and we'll be talking about some policy reviews. Starting with policy 1A, we've actually tabled this for, I think we were introduced to the director's study a couple of months ago. And I did mention at the meeting that I wanted you all individually to think about what changes we need to make to policy 1A regarding maybe a director earning their CCD and or BLC, because we've talked about that in the past. In addition, I hope you took some time and spent a little more time on the director's study. There's a lot of information there, and I assume it's all reported the same way. But if you look at where we're at, I think there's 11 RMCs that probably get a less dollar amount per board meeting than we do. And yet there's only 11 REMCs that spend more time per month than we do. Now, assuming that's accurate data, I think we need to look at those numbers a little bit closer. Or if everybody's comfortable with leaving it at 250, stipend at, the retainer fee at 700. So I'm welcome for any comments. We can leave it alone, but I do think we need to act on the BLC and the CCD accreditation when you get those.
So Steve, for example, are you just considering like a proposal, like 250 is your director stipend? If you have a CCD, maybe $100 more, or BLC 150 more, something on that line?
Yeah, and probably not that extensive.
I mean, that's what you're
That's what
thinking.
I'm looking for. In addition, yeah, is 250 where we need to be, or do we need to think about increasing that or lowering the retainer fee and maybe adding a
See, I think the incremental for the CCD and then an additional incremental for the BLC, I think is appropriate and smart. I think it encourages and incentivizes that. What that level is, what that incremental amount is, I agree with you. It doesn't need to be $500. I don't know the level to start at for the stipend. I personally don't feel undercompensated for what I do. And I don't know if I'm a minority, if I'm a majority. I personally have a hard time saying, pay me more.
And I would
With
imagine,
the exception of the CCD certification and the BLC certification, similar to what the chairman gets.
Yeah.
I agree with Dale, not just getting more money, but having those credentials.
what were you saying, Jason?
Yeah, the 10%, $25. Like what?
Yeah.
Yeah, the $25 increment for credentials is
Okay,
probably appropriate.
is now the time to do it or just before next year's budget? I don't know how we're, should we delay it until the end of the year or we can, is it going to affect budget in any way?
So are we still under budget?
I don't think $25 though is going to change.
Probably not.
I don't think I'd worry about that.
So, is everybody good with an incremental increase? Once a CCD is obtained, we'll add $25 for that director for their monthly meeting participation. And not only it would affect their committee meetings and things of that nature as well.
So it would affect.
Or would it?
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. I mean, in reality, generally speaking, there's just one.
Or we just do it on the per diem.
Required what, 2 a year, so
Meeting.
we're talking $50 extra for a lot.
Okay, so Brian had a good point. Maybe we just add it to the per diem, or excuse me, to
Retainer.
retainer.
Or whatever, yeah.
And then we can control it that way.
I agree with Brian.
Yeah, because BLC classes and everything like that, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
CCD.
I agree with Brian.
Okay, that's good. So, everybody like that idea? So we need a motion to increase.
Isn't that going to require somebody to monitor and I know Jeannie monitors it now, but as far as the payment of the monthly things, the monthly.
Yeah, I'm sure that would.
Somebody would have to coordinate that with.
What she wanted me to ask tonight, if anybody, because there's no way for us to know unless you tell us.
Right.
So the chairman might have to let them know when one changes.
From CCD, I didn't keep track of that.
So you're talking about I thought you meant going to an annual meeting or something.
Yeah, I said Jeannie, and now I'm talking about if we do this and we build it into the retainer.
We get notification from NRECA when you get your CCD, BL, whatever. Yes.
Okay, so you have that.
Yes.
And it would be director specific.
Because we get a plaque and everything. Like,
But you know what? Go back to, is retainer better than the monthly for the meeting? Because as chairman, I don't get any additional for anything but the board.
There should be a way to control cost. Yeah, like I said, you could go to several classes and get several meetings in a month. And that could stack up on you.
Well,
You did it for every meeting.
just do it as separate. You know, if you get your CCD, you get $10 per month. If you do your BLC, you get your
You
30.
that into the retainer.
Or yeah.
You don't like that now, Steve?
No, it's not that I don't like it.
Yeah.
I mean, because I probably have to look at a definition. By definition, you're retained for being on the board. And I don't think it's dependent upon your
Attendance at anything.
yes. So that's why I'm saying maybe it does make more sense to move it back into the policy and just saying, you know, just the monthly meeting. Will allow the increase. I don't know, maybe I'm making it too complicated. Ron, I do like your idea, but. Just having a retainer fee.
So then basically you're looking at changing to C, the stipend for out of service meeting. The director will be received $250 for each day away from his home attending meetings. And then you can also add to that an additional X percent will be added for CCD credential and additional X percent for VLC. So basically we're going to be changing to C, right? Because if you get 250, it's not just for the board meeting, it's for all.
Well, but I think we can add maybe we just add another, just for the board meeting.
The other meetings.
Like the other meeting's the same amount, is what you're saying?
So it only applies to this board meeting?
In part A, it states a director will receive a stipend of $250
That's the only part
for
you're.
attendance at each regular. I think there somehow we could just add another sentence or say, if you get your CCD, you get a 10%, we can incorporate a percentage or, and for BLC, another 10%.
What about gold?
I mean,
What about gold?
We don't require it, so maybe we would leave that alone.
It takes somebody to get
It
it.
takes work to get a gold.
There's only one person that's
no.
close anyways. What the heck?
Well, okay, so
You don't just get gold and keep it.
if you look at that, there's another sentence, the chairperson will receive 110% of the stipend for each regular or special board meeting. Maybe we could do that if you've
Attained your
attained your CCD.
CCD and or your BLC.
I think we can just add that sentence there.
Steve, why wouldn't you put it on the retainer again?
Well, I just think,
Make sure you show up to the board meeting.
I'm thinking the
Get
definition,
your CCD.
I'm thinking the definition of retainer was you're on the board, participating, you know, as a director. So now you've got a newcomer coming on, I don't know.
But you don't have to be at these meetings to get to your CCD. If you go spend the time to go get your CCD, so what if you're at the board meetings? Same thing as retainers.
See, but where's your education play a bigger factor?
At the
Oh,
board
on either
meeting,
one.
does it? Yeah, I guess.
Again, maybe we're just spending a little too much time.
I'm fine.
I don't think the dollar amount is big enough either way that it matters.
Well, then we just need to, we just need to get the dollar, the percentage.
The idea is what incentivize board education, because an educated board makes better decisions.
Correct.
And that's the.
See, I would almost argue that it should be in the retainer. Because what Matt just said, that the education piece, once you, for every meeting, class, whatever you attend, there's a separate fee. If you don't attend, you don't get compensated. Once you've attained your CCD or your BLC, the retainer for the conversations you have throughout the month, the knowledge base that you've gained by attending all of those things still applies. You're still using.
Good. And I don't disagree with what you just, I do know it would probably be easier to support the policy by making that change in Part B then. Each director will receive a monthly retainer fee of $700, sub-detail eligibility. If you've attained your CCD, $725. If you've attained your BLC at $750. Is that fair?
And do you want to incentivize then if somebody gets their goal? I mean, like you said, that's not easy to do
And keep.
and keep, yeah.
Continuing ad to keep.
I mean, I have to take 40 hours every year to keep my CPA license. So there's a continuing education and it's,
So what,
can't pass again.
So,
Yeah.
Probably, I mean, if we're incentivizing education, then yeah, I mean, we probably should, and then it would just be the same.
775. Okay. And if you retain your gold or receive your gold and retain it, 775.
does the CCD or the BLC require continuing education? No. So then we need to put in here, if you're going to put the gold in here, that you have to actively maintain it.
Has to be maintained.
You know what I mean? In other words, if you go get your gold and then 6 months or a year later, you didn't do the coursework.
Well, I think it'd be worded that way.
It's on a 2-year.
We can word it that way.
Why don't you redline it that way
Okay.
and then let's vote on it next month. That was his.
We'll get rid of
Everybody
it.
good with that? Okay, thank you. The artificial intelligence is the next policy. Has legal reviewed this?
No. All we did was, like, I'll be quite honest, Jeannie and I used AI to,
Create an AI policy.
we said, we put in AI. Dale says this is very confusing. Please take this out. We actually did though, honestly.
Did you?
Yeah, we just tried to clarify it because I think the question was
Did we, I thought we had the question though that, is people okay with this? And I think maybe you've already answered that question.
so legal originally created this.
I got you. Okay. So these changes here.
And I think what we did didn't materially change anything.
No, doesn't look
It
like
just
it.
clarified.
Kind of a couple different words.
The problem we had with it was, is it said it's strictly prohibited from using an approved AI system.
That was the issue.
So now we've just taken that out. I think it's clear. I think it's probably fine either way. This was already reviewed by legal.
Yeah,
I wouldn't
okay.
go spend
Okay.
300.
That's fine. Anybody have any concerns on that? Let's go through the other couple as well. Maybe we can just one motion to support the changes. And
So the only change to 4.1 is we no longer have the accounting clerk. So,
you know, I saw that.
and then the last one is just a title change.
So we need a motion to approve policy 12.2, policy 4.1, policy 10.2.
So
I'm sorry, 10.22.
I'll second.
Okay, we have first and second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, the same. The next item has to do with the annual meeting follow-up. Breville.
Yeah, the memo there is just kind of a recap of what I think I verbally told you the month
Yeah.
before. And then I wanted to make sure that you guys got the kind of official report from SBS. This really just, I think every year we kind of just close out the annual meeting follow-up. I guess if any of you got together comments or anything from next year, we could document those.
I know we've heard it in the past. A concern with mail-in ballots. And if they don't meet the deadline. Do we know, does SBS have a number of additional paper ballots that would come into the system?
I'm sure we could find out.
Would it make it, I mean, I think we tell people now they have the various options to vote, right? I think most people understand that the mailing system has been somewhat compromised, but would it make any sense to know a number in advance and say, you know, your better options maybe online?
So what you're asking for is how many actual ballots came to them that have to be counted
After, if they got it, if they don't, it's probably not a big deal. I'd just be curious, I mean, is that 1 or 2 or 10 or 20 or?
We had that number for last year.
Did we have it?
It was, yeah. It wasn't enough that it was significant, but we can ask this year too. Because this year probably the mail was worse.
We'll be interested to see if there is. And then as far as, the other question I had on that, it talked about. Let me see if I can find it. It was the number of, with the duplicate voting, 4 paper ballots were removed and 4 web ones were removed. Is that where?
Someone tried to vote both places.
No, I understand, but the first one that comes through is what's taken. Apparently there were 10 different members.
Yes, I believe the first one that comes in.
Okay.
Is that's what's in the bylaw.
Okay.
Steve, let me check on that because I don't remember.
I think that's what it is.
It's lower than that, I believe.
It's first or last.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were some nice comments too.
Kudos to Kristen.
Anybody else have anything on the annual meeting? All right. Then we had some directors attending conference. Jason, you got anything to share from there?
Yeah, I got a few things in my notes I'm gonna just read. They're not actually in great order, but with us doing the golf service study, I went to a rate design class. And you know how we've always talked about maybe a 3 or 4 part residential rate. About 10% of the co-ops in the US are using that now. So there are co-ops that are adapting it. The challenges for co-ops our size is it's very expensive to execute those complicated rate designs. But there are some folks that are doing it, and someone asked, like, what should a co-op know before they do that? You should get people to do shadow billing. That was a suggestion, of the people like these guys or us, that would allow them to do that. But obviously a lot of education involved with that. We talked a lot about time of use rates in conjunction with these 4-part rates. Again, member education is going to be important. Then we talked about these data centers. Data centers were the big topic down there. They're going to be, supposedly they're going to be everywhere. And how to handle capital credits in some of those situations and what some folks are doing to handle those mega loads. I went to an AI one, machine learning versus generative AI. Was a lot of talk about what we just did, policies around AI and how the staff is handling that, what information, what data can be used in securing that data. And then one question that I had that came out of that was the call center, like 9-star. This do call centers, that was asked, does your call center use AI? I don't know the answer to that. I don't know what that would look like, but there was a lot of discussion, mega loads, AI, and then the rate design. But it was good. CFD usually puts on a pretty
They're excellent.
good show. So
Where's it at next year, the CFC conference?
I believe it's in California.
Brad?
San Diego.
San Diego.
Matt was there, getting his certification.
Got equity management 3.
Was there a large crowd?
ARTAs.
Yeah, I think so, but it's hard to judge. And everything was in the hotel.
Okay.
So I don't know. It didn't, that room seemed the main room.
More people there last year, but they said in the Midwest is always better attended because it's easier for people to it's in the middle of the country.
It was literally a game day this year for me. It rained like 2.5 inches in 20 minutes that Saturday, and so I decided to go Sunday. Otherwise, I wasn't going to go.
Look at the other fun to go to. And then I think we had a couple directors that went to a annual meeting at a neighboring AMC. Is that correct? We had a couple people go.
So did
Did you guys register through Jeannie prior to the meeting? No. Okay. Because I know most of that information is, she keeps, I don't know if she has a spreadsheet or whatever, but she keeps track of that stuff as well where you attended. So I'm sure she's probably aware of it. That'd be a good idea to go through her, and I don't know if they register you guys in advance or not. So Carl, what do you got? What do you know?
we're supposed to.
I'm sorry.
They know we're supposed to.
Well, it's just one of those things. At least she has documentation. You want a couple things from the annual meeting?
Yeah, well, they had 3 directors that retired, basically. And then one director was voted on without even anybody running against him. So, we have to do so. Basically, that's what. It's just ice cream line.
Ice cream is all.
And I do have to make a comment. I'll tell you what, I know people like Chick-fil-A, but what we have a chicken way. So don't go back to Chick-fil-A.
Is that what they had? They had Chick-fil-A?
Yeah, I don't even go
For a
to
while,
Yeah.
they ran out, and that was a
That happened to us.
We've gotten better comments on our meals than Chick-fil-A.
And local.
How about you, Dale? Anything that?
2 or 3 things. SBS was on site.
Oh, okay.
They were the only ones that were in an air-conditioned room.
They were doing.
They were doing voting or registration on site. I went and talked to, I think it was Matt, the guy we had a conference call, and met a couple of the other people. So they were good. They were on site. Obviously, their situation with the drive-through building and the bigger building is much more conducive to doing it on site. They run shuttle buses down the road to their thing. Couple of things that I noted in like their vendors, they did have a booth for their Operation Roundup. They had colored shirts for that, which I thought was neat. They had members there. One other thing they did that was really attractive to the kids, and I took a picture of it, was Safari something or other. Girl standing there with a Burmese python wrapped around her, and
They did a penguin last year.
I mean,
And an alligator there, I bet.
it was just crazy. Kids were they had an armadillo, they had turtle, and I got the contact information, but that was attractive to the kids. But all in all, theirs isn't significantly different than ours. It's bigger, obviously. I heard competing comments about whether or not this was a big crowd or not a big crowd. But they got a lot of board members, several board members, one of which retired, as Carl mentioned, that are 1992, 1996. They've been there for a long, long time.
One of them worked there for 35 years, then he has 10 years in the, I think, something like that.
But all in all, it wasn't different. The situation, being able to do it on their campus, I think contributes a lot to us. But their campus is a lot more conducive to do it than ours is. It was nice. The people, everyone, as we do, were in green shirts. I mean, from the people I met parking cars to, as I'm sure our people are, and I think highly of ours, everybody was accommodating and kind and courteous and very, very genuine and saying, thanks for coming. So I enjoyed it. It was nice.
Very good. Anybody else said anything this last month? Good. As far as affiliate organizations, broadening.
Hometown will have a meeting this coming Tuesday, the 29th.
Okay. And I'll jump in. IEC, their retreat is Friday and Saturday of this upcoming week. And I know there's Dale and Steve and myself are going to be headed up to Fort Wayne for the retreat, but I have nothing else to update you on board meeting or committee meeting update. And then Jason, you have some.
Yeah, Brett's got a few slides that we're going to discuss during the wholesale power contract.
I'm not gonna put them up on the board.
Wholesale power.
I got them in your,
Oh, they're on call to order. Yeah, that's right.
you,
Oh,
no, go ahead.
I thought you were.
No, go ahead.
You put a slide deck together.
It's all right, go ahead.
Yeah, so we got these slides last month at Hoosier. The only thing I'm going to add to this front one, there are some assumptions under these rates. There is one thing that's not listed here that is also in the assumption, and that is that the new ERA funding is not included in any of these outlooks. So as you recall, that was about $677 million. That will be, if all the T's are crossed and I's are dotted, that's what Hoosier will get in new ERA grant funds. Those will be reimbursed over a 20-year period. So I don't know what that equates to exactly a dollar amount per megawatt, but if that all goes through like it's supposed to, these wholesale power, these will be lower. That will reduce that. So that was, so that's in the assumptions. Then you see the natural gas prices, the forward power prices, and then we get down to the 25 wholesale rate outlook, all in, all trackers. And you should know that when we do the new rates roll out in April, it is the intention that the tracker will zero. But there's an asterisk. Because, and I was going to talk about this in my report, but I'll just tell you now. There was an outage planned for Holland in the spring. The outage has not gone well. The unit is still offline. They had to send the generator off and it had to be rewound, and there was a major problem with I don't remember who the manufacturer is, but it had to be sent off to be reworked. They had a problem. They have to like heat this huge ring to like 1200 degrees with blankets, and the tolerances are really, really tight, and it started to cool too quick, and it wasn't lining up right, and it cooled off too fast, and then they had to reheat it to get it back off, and ruined a bunch of components in this generator. So anyway, that unit is still offline. It's not caused us any problems as far as MISO and the availability of the unit, as far as being fined. I guess that's the word used, but we've lost a lot of revenue because that unit's not been available. Obviously, it's been hot. That unit could have been running, and it's not been. So that is probably going to show up in the tracker. So more on that. We don't know, but the tracker's supposed to zero in April. So the good news is you're looking at this wholesale rate is supposed to be $4 a megawatt cheaper than it was the previous year. Still very competitive with peers. And then there's a breakdown here of all the components that make up that wholesale rate, and you can see it out, the projection out through 2027. So we're gonna have a reduction, and we're gonna keep it for a few years on this one. Why is that? St. Joe, I told you guys about Hoosier buying that in conjunction with Wabash Valley. That was a significant savings for us. That plant has been running a lot. It's been doing really well. Palisades is going to begin, the nuclear is supposed to begin in 26. However, they are well ahead of schedule. The restart, and there is a possibility that we will be taking power from that maybe even by the end of 25.
Over the end of this year.
Yeah, so end of 25 or very beginning of 26. It's not a problem, but as soon as that thing starts spinning, we have to take the power. So we will be long, but they're going to sell those long positions off. It's a good place to be, actually.
It's a very competitive price.
So, for a restart of a nuclear facility, to say that they're going to be 6 months ahead of schedule, maybe is big or it's huge. And by the way, Holtec is the company that's doing that. And they're also doing the small modular reactor design. They're trying to come out with an SMR. They can test it up there. That company is going public. That's been a privately held company, and it's going to go public at the end of the year also. So to try and raise funds for this SMR work. And I guess that's really about all I had. What do you have?
Oh, I think you did a good job.
Palisades is Michigan. Is St. Joe in Indiana?
Yeah.
Where's it at?
Northward.
Yeah.
Northwest?
No, it's right in the middle of the state.
South Bend.
It's up by South Bend.
Like, it's south of South Bend. I just drove through it.
Yeah.
Carlisle or whatever.
What's it, St. Joe County, obviously? Yes.
Yeah, and there's I think we bought that facility in 40 acres and there's potential for a
Bigger.
yeah, but there's there's a lot of underground water there and they're using wells for that plant. So as long as there's a lot of water up there, I guess that works. But that's kind of why that's all there. And there's a big industrial footprint there. There's a lot
Did you
of,
tour that one as well?
we did. We went there
And
and then went to the nuclear facility. So
The only thing that Jason left out is, we hear a lot, or I hear a lot, why would you guys get rid of a coal plant? Why would you get rid of a coal plant? Well, the whole reason was because we went through strategic planning. The idea was we wanted to diversify the portfolio, right? So that we didn't have all of our eggs in the coal basket, right? Well, you could also consider that shaft risk, right? So you got all this KWH on one shaft. So what was interesting about this gas plant that's down right now is, could you imagine if that was shaft risk with our old portfolio? So now you got Miramov for that much, right? So instead of being out 300 megawatts, you'd have been out 1,200. So I think that's a win for Hoosier. So when folks ask, why would you get rid of a plant like that? It does diversify your risk too.
40 years old, too.
Yeah.
All that too.
At the end of it.
And that is coming, our PPA, we still have a PPA with that plant. We are still getting power. I think it says in 26 it expires, but we probably, all indications are that we won't have a PPA with that coal plant anymore after 26. When that expires, that would probably be the end of it. Because of St. Joe and Palisades, those are big blocks of power. They need to market or sell, and we're not in the market for that right now. So, anyway, that's it for me.
I think, unless anyone has anything else. Anybody have anything else before we adjourn? I need a motion. You got a first and a second, we're adjourned.